So tell me, are there some issues that you'd like to work on, or some priorities that you have?
Absolutely. I'd like to hit a little bit on the reassessment process, which Indiana is now in the midst of. We started a statewide reassessment July 1 of this year. It's an 18-month process. It's a very hard process. What it means is we actually go out and physically inspect every single property in Allen County, which again is about 155,000 parcels. We have to physically go out and make sure that the data that we've got is accurate, so that your assessment is accurate. And over the years, our data comes from building permits. Well, sometimes people don't always take out building permits, or they don't, on the other hand of it, sometimes they take a barn down and don't think that they need to let us know, but they don't realize they're being taxed on that barn. So it works both ways. I like to call it cleansing the data. We have to cleanse the data to make sure that it's as fair and accurate as it can possibly be. One thing that I'm actually an advocate for, that I'm actually working at the State House, I'm also the legislative liaison for the county assessors in Indiana. I'm also the vice president of the Indiana County Assessors Association, which we have a long history. We have a strong group. But right now what we're advocating for is taking this reassessment process, which throughout history has never had on-time tax billing. In the 20 years I've been here, and this is the third reassessment I've gone through. Indiana code says they're supposed to happen every 4 years. Well, typically they don't. They happen every 10 to 12 years, and they typically get delayed at the beginning and even at the end. I've never seen one happen on time, and we've researched it, and historically they've never happened on time either. What we're looking to do is go to a new concept, which is called a cyclical reassessment. Instead of trying to cram in 18 months worth of work and do it well, we'd like to take that process and break it up over a 4-year steady cycle, a cyclical cycle. And what we would do is basically just divide up the parcels equally amongst the property classes and do a fourth of those parcels each year on a continual basis. A lot of times reassessments are extremely costly to most counties. They cost well over $1 million to hire a vendor to go out and process this. I think it's an archaic system. I think there's a better way to do it. I think it's again, cleansing the data, making sure it's accurate. The more accurate your data is, the more often you visit that data, the better it's going to be. And Allen County is very lucky enough that we have enough staff that we're performing that function in-house. We're not hiring any vendors to do the work. The folks that live here and pay taxes here in Allen County are actually doing the work. They know the markets, they know the area, and we're actually well ahead of the process right now. We got started 6 months earlier. We're kind of, I guess you would say, we're kind of starting the cyclical process just because it makes sense. It makes sense fiscally, and it makes sense to have a better product when you're done, taking the time to do it right. You can't do a good job in 18 months. You can't possibly do all the market analysis, change the land values, visit every property, get all that data crunched and onto the computer within an 18-month time. It's just, it doesn't work. It just simply doesn't work. And I think it's time that we look at a new concept that will benefit everybody time-wise and financially.
So that's something that you're working towards getting through the legislature, but I think we were talking a few minutes ago, and you mentioned that that's something that you're kind of putting in place already at the county level. Yeah,
and I think the DLGF also, which is my boss at the state, has already recognized this concept, and they were actually alongside us at the State House last year trying to get this concept passed. We actually lost in the final hours, taken out of the bill, which happens. But we're not going to give up the fight. I mean, the common sense approach is there. We have a lot of people pulling for this concept along with the state. Or, like I said, the DLGF is also advocating this. And they've also done that by implementing the same type of concept in the Indiana, it's called 50 IAC, which is the administrative code that the DLGF writes on their rules and regulations. It's alongside of the Indiana code. It's an administrative code. So that concept and doing a quarter of the parcels every year is actually already in 50 AIC. The concept is there. It was put there just last session. And because they're trying to also work towards this concept. So.
Well, I think it just makes more sense, because then
It seems so
you're not trying to
easy to
cram
me.
it all in. Yeah, it just seems like you would end up with better assessments, and I think the fact that you're able to say that the assessments in Allen County are done in-house, I think is huge when you stop and think about. That keeps it keeps the dollars here that you're paying your workers, and it keeps that knowledge here.
Right.
So I think that's a good thing.
It's a great thing, and we've got, like I said, we've got a lot of dedicated staff that have been in that office. I've been there 20 years. There's a handful that have been there longer than me, and a few other ones, just a little bit under that. These people are dedicated to doing a good job for the taxpayers. They take pride in doing that work as public servants. I'm a big advocate of public service. I mean, that is what we're here for, to serve the public.
It sounds like I'm kind of moving into some of the accomplishments that you've made in the office since you've been there. And why don't you tell me about a couple of those?
Let me see. I have been the Northeast District President for 2 years during this first session, which means we hold information sessions, if we will. We have luncheons to the county assessors in the Northeast District. I think networking is very important in the assessing community to see how other counties are doing things and learn from each other. So I started out to being a district president for 2 years in a row. I'm also the legislative liaison for the 92 county assessors in Indiana. I'm the vice president of the Indiana County Assessors Association, and this year I was also put onto the board of the AIC, the Association of Indiana Counties. And that kind of comes hand in hand with the legislative process. That's kind of an arena. The AIC helps local government try to streamline their goals and try to help accomplish those goals. So those two functions kind of go hand in hand.
Am I remembering correctly? I can't remember exactly what it was, but it seems like your office won some sort of award.
Oh,
in the last...
I was nominated County Assessor of the Year last year. I forgot that one. Yeah, and that's a great honor, because it's something that you're voted by your peers that you work with, and I think that the work that I've done at the legislative in the legislative sessions, I spent a lot of time driving back and forth and trying to advocate for what's best for the taxpayers of Allen County, and actually what's good for Indiana. It's not just Allen County; what's good for Indiana.
I know that you talked a little bit about the restructuring after the township. Is there still more work to be done in that area? Is it pretty much in place?
It's kind of in place, but actually, Bev Zuber and I, Bev is the Wayne Township Assessor. We're still, I think, I'm really proud to say that I think we've got a really strong working relationship, and we're both working hard to try to share work functions, because the ultimate goal is to save the taxpayers dollars out of our budget. So there's a lot of things that we're still trying to combine and to consolidate to have a better end product. Right now we're actually thinking about, she's got a personal property team, and we're actually thinking about having that team come over to the existing team, have one of her employees come over, and then one of her employees that currently does that process is going to stay and do residential. So by taking one staff member and putting it into a team of 6, those personal property returns will be performed by the team, which has a lot of knowledge in it, and that's what that's going to do, is enhance her abilities to spend more time out in doing the residential side of things. The same kind of concept happened with commercial industrial. The commercial industrial team is really under the umbrella of the line item of the county assessor's office. So by having that staff person in that team, they work hand in hand, and they have a stronger assessment level, because again, they're treating things more fairly when they're in that team process. So those are some things that we have done and we've accomplished well, and we've seen cost savings, and we're even looking to take that a little bit further in the near future.
Is there specialized education or certification that not only you as an assessor, but perhaps your employees also have to go through?
Yes. Typically, for years we had what we call a level 2 certification. Level 1 is a test over the Indiana guidelines, book 1 residential, and then level 2 is over the commercial industrial. I've had those for several years. Just recently, they've mandated what they're calling a level 3, which is 5 IAAO classes, which are basically, it's kind of hard to say. It's the Association, International Association of Assessing Officers. So it's an international group. This is the teachers that come. They fly in to the state of Indiana and teach us how assessors are doing things throughout the United States. So it's a huge network. The classes are a week long apiece, and a certification of a level 3 is 5 classes completed, and they're each a week long, and they're kind of like a mini college class. I mean, it's equivalent to a degree when you're kind of done with these accomplishments, and they're not easy to get. We're slowly getting the staff to go. All the staff is encouraged to go and get their certifications. I think we've got about, I'm going to say 10 that have reached their level 3 already. And it's only been within the last year and a half. It's kind of hard to get everybody out of the office. I myself have got one more class to go. I've been a little busy. I have one more class to go that I'm going in November, and then I'll have my level 3 status as well.
Okay. Anything else that you would like to add or talk about that maybe I've missed or haven't brought up? Was there anything?
I think we've touched everything. Is there anything else on your list there that you wanted to talk about?
No, that's pretty much about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Stacey, it's been a real pleasure talking with you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Sure. We appreciate your time and wish you well in November.
Thank you.
All right.